Hello folks, the White Guy here again. Welcome home on this very beautiful, breezy autumn day. The name of this video is called The White Guy is an Uneducated Clown. Wow, what a title. And I'm sure some people who come across my videos feel exactly the same way. And I'll explain where I got this title from and why I used it. Because I was told by a retired college professor with 3 university degrees, quote, "You still are an uneducated clown." This is after we had a dialogue back and forth. "You still are an uneducated clown. Where can I buy your alleged books? I need a good laugh." Close quote. Now, I really don't care. Okay, these are the 3 books he was referring to. And if any of you, my viewers, want to have a good laugh, I'm going to leave links to Amazon because I like people laughing. I like that. My first book that he was referring to is called In Defense of God's Love by yours truly, the White Guy. And the second book I wrote is called Is God Bipolar? Okay? And the third one I wrote is called No Love, No Fear, No Love, No Fear. Notice the difference in the spelling. By yours truly. Okay? So that was enough for the infomercial, and it gave me an opportunity to share that with this guy's comment. Okay? So, why would he say such a thing about me? That's the question, okay, that I'm sure a lot of people might be thinking that are viewing this. Folks, I take partial, not complete, but partial responsibility for his view of me. And let me explain. Those of you who watch my videos, you know that I have studied to prove to myself, you know, not to prove to any of you, not to prove to this guy, this college professor, okay, but to prove to myself what is true. Then I commit my studies unto God. And to me, this is what is meant by the passage in 2 Timothy 2:15 that says, "Study to show yourself approved." What did I say any different than that, huh? And then it says, "Unto God," which is what I do, commit it. They should have put a comma after the word approved in Scripture. Anyway, "Unto God, a workman that needs not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." I'm not ashamed for these 3 books here, folks. Not even one little bit, okay? Also, most of you know that my research is about the topic of hell, the origins of such beliefs, and the horrible impact that such beliefs have on mankind. You see, with that said, you know how passionate I am, because I want to see people set free from such pagan beliefs. No good comes of those beliefs, folks. No good. Definitely not the fruit of the Spirit of God. Nothing like that, okay? So when this retired college professor, and I might add, when I was going back and forth with him, I didn't know he was a professor until, and you'll find out. Anyway, he said that that Gehenna was a Jewish folklore. And I was like, and this is before I knew he was a professor. I just thought he was just a... Anyway, I don't look at anybody any higher or any lower than anybody else, okay? I really don't. But all I can think of is folklore. You know, I can show him on a map exactly where it's located. But what got my cackles up is when he wrote, quote, "Hell is Germanic," meaning German, "and is a pagan word for the place where the dead sleep, nothing more." You know, if he wouldn't have put in those 2 words, "nothing more," we wouldn't have continued. I wouldn't have said what I said. I wouldn't have wrote what I wrote. He's partially correct, okay, about the German aspect of it. But the dogmatic term, "nothing more," got to do the "nothing more," okay, requires a defense. And it made me respond with this: "Nothing more? I think you're getting a little ancient history and countries mixed up. All the beliefs of a hell-type afterlife originally came from the ancient Babylonian and Mesopotamian, referring to a place called Kurnugia. And any of you, my viewers, want to look it up, it's Kurnugia. Okay, prove me wrong about this. I don't mind at all. The Latin word infernum, hell in English, is a superstitious derivative, okay, handed down by the pagan beliefs of Babylon. This included the ancient Scandinavian tribes, which involved and included what we know as Germans. And those tribes all incorporated a religion about a cold underworld ruled by a goddess named Hel. Isn't that interesting? And it's spelled H-E-L. That's the mix-up you're having. Hell rather than hell. Hell with 1 L versus hell with 2 L's, okay? They're pronounced the same and spelled almost the same. Also, on and off again for over 300 years, the Scandinavians kept invading what we now know as Italy. Maybe they influenced ancient Italy. I really don't know. Also, the Irish, which originally came from those same tribes, would use the term Helen, which is Hell''N. Helen, the potatoes, which meant to cover them with dirt to protect them from the frost, and this covering with dirt might be where burial might apply. When I say that hell is a Latin-based word, it's because the ancient Latin church are the ones who erroneously used it in Scripture. I don't care what the Germans, Irish, Scandinavians did and how they defined it. The point I'm trying to make is how the ancient Latin church inserted the word infernum into the Latin Vulgate 111 times where it never existed before in the Hebrew or Greek text. Look in any Latin dictionary and you'll see that infernum is translated as hell in English. So the context of the Bible and the Latin Vulgate, hell is a Latin-based word. Okay? Now, folks, my reply to him, okay, it was only snippets and not detailed like I did in these books. Okay, only snippets, not detailed information that I've read about over the past 30 years, mostly from the past 8 years. Okay, and I was simply sharing my discoveries with someone who said nothing more. Okay, now you've got the complete context. That's the context of why I shared what I did. In other words, there's a lot more to the meaning of hell than a Germanic pagan word for the place where the dead sleep. I meant no disrespect to anyone, yet get his response. Quote, not to brag, but you are talking to a retired college professor with 3 university degrees. Where did you get your education? Close quote. Did you catch that? You know, folks, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever, and he later proves that my doubts were correct. I have no doubt in my mind that he was most certainly bragging, nor was he sincere in asking the question of where did I get my education. For years, I've been dealing with these highly educated Pharisee-type people, and they try to use their formal education and degrees to intimidate others. That's what they do. Their pride and ego are at stake. So my equally admitted pride and ego won't let them intimidate me. So my response to his latest comment made that clear. But before I share my response, let me briefly digress and share a little about my 30 years of teaching music. When a student came up with a song or a riff, of music, then they came and shared it with me and played it for me. Did I puff myself up? I've had such and such years of formal education and blah, blah, blah. Did I do that? And make them feel as if they had nothing to contribute to my knowledge of music? Hardly. I always encouraged my students by commending them. Okay? By commending them, I'm putting up another set of notes here, by the way. Anyway, by commending them for their contribution. Regardless if they were technically wrong in how they applied their understanding of music, which oftentimes was the case. But it's better to say, man, that's really good, what you've got thus far, rather than, okay? This wasn't the case with this retired professor. He proved to me along with articles that I've read, that most college professors are so accustomed to their students just brown-nosing, brown-nosing them for a good grade, that most of these professors have forgotten what pre-thinking is all about. Knowing this, I responded this way to him, and this will entertain you. You probably will get nothing out of it other than entertainment. I said, wow, let me sound a little patronizing, oh great one. I am humbled and amazed that a man who considers himself far above me would venture to stoop so low to correspond with me, much less watch my videos. I should have known better than to start a YouTube channel, write 3 books based on 30 years of research without consulting you first. If I had only known that your professorship outweighs all the other professors and historians that I gleaned information from via their published works, then I wouldn't have attempted to share my findings, with someone who already knows it all and doesn't see through a glass dimly like the rest of humanity. Shame on me. Sarcasm aside, when you wrote that hell is Germanic and is a pagan word for the place where the dead sleep, nothing more, Again, I have to ask, nothing more? Maybe from the ancient German perspective, that's what it meant. But to say nothing more is only an opinion of a minority, while the majority perceive it as something much more. If it's nothing more, then why don't the Bible college professors and clergy throughout the planet-wide simply threaten people with where the dead sleep instead of a torturous afterlife? This is the context that I was referring, but you obviously chose to ignore it. But instead, you proceeded to not brag about your credentials. You know, I would have commended you for your years of hard work and studies if you would have stopped there. But you continued with what could easily be perceived as an insincere, lowbrow, pompous, arrogant, condescending question of, where did you get your education? Thus making your credentials moot, in my opinion, and the reason for my sarcasm in the beginning of this reply. I have 3 sets of notes. Okay. Another reason I don't believe that I'm wrong about your insincere question is how you followed up with yet another condescending comment of, now if you want to play games, ... close quote. Believe me, I don't consider any beliefs that steals, kills, and destroys a trust in God's love as a game. Perhaps it would be wise for you to move on to someone else's channel and browbeat them with your great knowledge, and since you're retired, your search for significance. Okay, and that was the end of that. And then he responded, of course, to that with, you still are an uneducated clown. Where can I buy your alleged books? I need a good laugh, okay? That's why he responded. And frankly, folks, I don't blame him one little bit, okay? Perhaps it'd be wise for, perhaps it'd be wise for some of you folks just to move on. No, I'm just teasing. You know, folks, I've also discovered over the years that when I make a wrong assessment, which I don't think I did of this person, but when I make a wrong assessment of someone's motive, in this case, I felt he was lying about not bragging, okay? They usually tell me that I don't know them and that I'm wrong. That's usually what happens. And when that happens, I quickly apologize, and we often continue with our conversation. On the other hand, this professor didn't address a single item of my research, but in response, he only bragged of his education. And I have no doubt it was a put-down when asking where I got mine from. You know, I'll be the first to admit that he's technically right. And my wife would agree with him that I'm a clown, but no, not that part. But he's technically right. I have no formal education, and I have never considered myself a teacher other than in music. I've never considered myself a Bible scholar, a historian, or a master of languages, but only an opinionist. Okay, an opinionist that offers his opinion about his discoveries. You know, I've lost count, folks, of how many times I've said that I could be wrong. But even with that admission, am I to take the word of a single lowbrow, condescending, pompous, arrogant college professor with 3 degrees over and above what I've read from historians, linguists, and other professors who also have degrees? Who does that make sense to? You know, I reacted to this guy with far more subtle sarcasm than Jesus did when he called the highly educated Pharisees names. And in closing, the point of this video is to encourage my viewers to not allow people like this. Don't allow them to intimidate you with their supposed knowledge. Okay? Some of you have the ability to lovingly walk away from a confrontation and not judge them as snakes and vipers and full of dead men's bones, like Jesus did. You know, and that's okay. Yet some of us are wired to take a stand against people who think that they're superior to others. And that's what this video, I just wanted to share that. Plus, it's a good way for me to vent. You know, it's been long enough. I already shared about my books. Scroll down to the Show Me More section. And did you do this? If not, do it now. Okay, click that thumbs up for me. Thank you so much for viewing.